Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Waubonsee Community College's Sports Spotlight. I'm your host, Steve Moga, and it's cold outside, which means it is basketball season. And joining me here for our very first segment is the new men's head basketball coach here at Waubonsee, Lance Robinson. And Coach, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I want to introduce you to the folks at home. Coach Robinson comes in after having been a player and coach at Aurora University. And let's start with that, just a little bit about your background. Most people here would know Danville. When you say Danville, they think Danville, Illinois, but you're actually from Danville, Indiana.
Yeah, I went to high school in Danville, Indiana. It's about 33 hours away from here, just west of Indianapolis. Was getting recruited by a lot of schools out of high school in Indiana and just kind of want to go somewhere different, and chose Aurora University just to get away. And, I was there for 13 years.
Yeah, you got away all right. You played there under James Lancaster, who obviously had a very good run there at Aurora University as head coach. He was a former player there as well, played under Don Holler years before that. But he had such success not only as a women's basketball coach there, then as the men's basketball coach. They named the court after him. It's Lancaster Court in Thornton Gymnasium. You had to follow in those footsteps as not only as a player for him, but then you took over after being his assistant coach. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. They say the cardinal rule as a coach is never replace the guy they named the court after. So I guess I was the idiot that did that. And then, coming here, Coach Heiss, is in 5 Hall of Fames, has 650 victories. So I guess I'm just not that smart.
Well, you came in here to the challenge to take over from Coach Heiss after he was at the helm here of the Chiefs basketball program for 34 years. And I want to talk a little bit about you because, again, your background, having played at Aurora U and played in a very wide open system under Lancaster, you, of course, coached a very similar style to that when you were a head coach at Aurora U. You've brought that over here to Waubonsee now, too. And, what has been your biggest influence? Has it been one particular person, or what has influenced your coaching style to start with?
I think, I was blessed. My high school basketball coach, is all-time leading, wins guy at our high school. Same with football. They're both in the Hall of Fame in Indiana. And then obviously Coach Lancaster. So I kind of take bits and pieces from each coach, and so, I try to steal things that they did that I liked. And so, a little bit of everything, and then, even last night I was watching, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban's, they had a show last night, so, I might incorporate some of that too. So I'm always, always try to steal stuff.
You're a college basketball coach, but you're a huge football fan. I know that about you. Did you play football in high school? I never asked you that.
Yeah, I did. I played tight end. I was actually all-state, so, I actually liked football a lot.
That's one you never talk about. Yeah. I didn't know that. Well, obviously, as a player, you were very good. Conference Player of the Year your senior year at Aurora. You did a little bit of everything on the floor. One of those guys that, as I watched, like, wow, he sees the entire floor all the times. It's just kind of an instinct. Something a lot of guys don't have. Have you been able to help that, or has that helped translate to your coaching as far as watching the game and being able to, give tips to your guys?
Yeah. I'm always pretty close with our point guards, guys who kind of handle the ball, because that's always kind of the position I was at. And so, I just try to put them in position to be successful, and I, at the same time, I always kind of reverted back to football. It's like, if you're the coach, you don't tell your quarterback, don't throw an interception, so I want them to play freely, play, where they're not trying to make a mistake. So, obviously mistakes are going to happen, but I want them to have the, the courage and, be able to just, make the right play, and sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be bad, but I'd rather have it be an aggressive mistake.
Yeah, you'd rather be aggressive, make a mistake that way, instead of being, as a coach, you always want to have to pull the reins back instead of light fires. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're just saying. Now, you've brought a style from Aurora that again you played under Coach Lancaster,
Mm-hmm.
and I played intramurals with James many years ago. I know he didn't like to play defense.
You probably didn't touch the ball too much.
No, he was the biggest guy on the floor, and he was 20 feet out
Yeah.
shooting threes. And then that's how he was as a coach. That's how he coached you. And then you, of course, brought that same kind of high up-tempo three-point shooting system from Aurora over here, and that's worked pretty good so far here for the Chiefs.
Yeah, right now we're averaging around 90 points a game. I think we're top 25 in the country in scoring. So everyone kind of sees that, but people don't see how much we work on our defense and rebounding in practice. So, at the same time, I think getting recruits, people who want to play for you, the more you score, more each person scores, I can keep more people happy. And then I obviously play, 10 guys a game. So, I think that's kind of why I do the kind of that style, averaging 90 points, means more guys are playing, more guys are scoring, and I keep more guys happy.
Certainly had some up-tempo games here early in the year as well. Now, you've seen it enough times, though, too, when you're hot, when you're shooting well with that up-tempo game, everything's great, but when you go cold, those are the tough games. What do you try and do, make adjustments there to try and kind of react to that when the ball's not falling as much?
Yeah, we talk about a lot. Our offense can be our best defense, and we're talking about that by not turning the ball over, and take better shots. I think we've done a great job ever since we lost to Madison, where they came back and we're up 20 and they came back and beat us. I've just taken better shots on offense, moving the ball a bit more, and I think when you get a quality shot every time down, good things are going to happen. So, we've grown a lot, over the month and a half of the season. I'm looking forward to our growth as the season goes on.
Well, as we go on, we're going to talk more about that season and your team in general. We got to take a break right now here on Sports Spotlight. We'll come right back.
Your imagination. I mean, I don't like to brag, but wait, who's that? And why is she all over these achievement awards? But with STEM, the sky's the limit. Shaboom! Use STEM to envision. Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah. Invent.
Got any ideas?
I've got a few, actually. And create a better world.
Told you she's super smart.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
Back here on Sports Spotlight, a quick reminder, you can get more information by going online to gochiefs.com or Region 4, that's the number 4, region4sports.com or njcaa.org. Those are places you can go online to get more information about Chiefs athletics. And with me here on our basketball show here for today is head coach Lance Robinson of the men's team. And Lance, you as a former point guard, I want to talk about your team. Let's start with the guy who kind of runs the show for you this year is DJ Ellis. He's been a phenomenal player for you so far and has really kind of helped distribute the basketball and at times score as well.
Yeah.
It reminds me, when I watch me, it reminds me a little bit of you as well. He does score, he distributes the ball, and he gets some rebounds.
Yeah. Right now I think he's second in the country in assists, almost 8 a game. Averaging around 13 points, and also 6 rebounds. So, does a little bit of everything for us. Sometimes, he can really score. I think in high school he was more of a scorer. Or here he's kind of handling the ball a bit more. So we try to put him off the ball some, just to make it a little bit easier for us. But he's been awesome. He leads us in minutes. It's one of those where he's gonna make a few mistakes, but we're gonna live with them. Because he does everything for us. Good defensively, rebounds, assists. Then scores the basketball as well. So couldn't be more proud of how he's played so far.
Yeah, he's been able to break some people down off the dribble and create his own shot at times too, which has been important. But he obviously creates shots for other people. I think one of the guys who's benefited the most after having watched, every Wabansie basketball team since the 80s, that's how old I am. Anyway, Corey Adams is the sophomore guard you had back. He ran the point a lot last year, and he's really benefited by being off the ball now. And he's been the guy who's been a recipient of some of that, and he's been shooting the lights out from three-point range.
Yeah, Corey's really good at home. He's had some games at home where he's probably averaged about 15 points a game at home, and so I think just taking the pressure off him handling the ball, just put him in on the wing or the corner, it can be in a sweet spot, catch and shoot, and then he's done a great job providing leadership for us. And he's continuing to work on his rebounding and our defense, but Corey's been a great leader for us so far.
Should mention the other two sophomores, returning sophomores from last year's team, Simeon Strauss, who's from Bolingbrook, and also Coleman Aaron, who's from Oswego East. Those two guys have really complemented, and they were role players last year, and they stepped it up this year, and they certainly have complemented these other guys as well.
Yeah, both those guys are starters. You know, Sims shooting a great percentage, around 50%, over 40% from three. You know, he's had a couple double-double games for us. I know he had 15 and 10 against MATC, and then last night he had 15 and 11, you know, against Kishwaukee. Then Coleman's done a great job. He can really shoot it for a big man. He can stretch the floor, you know, and it has done a better job rebounding. But I've been pleased with our sophomores. You know, I needed to get to know them. You know, it was only 3 weeks before we started the school year, and so they've done a great job of buying in. You know, Corey's taking a role coming off the bench, you know, providing, you know, points for us, and those other two are starting. But they're all equally important, so I couldn't be happier that you know, I'm their coach for their last season here.
It's neat to see Simeon and Coleman as well, two guys who didn't play in high school. Simeon was homeschooled, and Coleman didn't play that much, and their game has really come to fruition, and it's just fun to watch them. And when they're aggressive, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I texted Simeon today. I said, I need to be the toughest player on the court tonight, and so when he's tough, I think he takes our team to another level.
Speaking of toughness, you got a couple guys in Caleb Seiler and Courtney Fields that seem to be kind of your physical guys sometimes inside. They're not real big, they're not real tall, but they are strong.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Caleb, he's still coming to his own. You know, he was hurt, you know, when we first started practice, you know, missed some jamborees, and then, you know, he's getting better every day. You know, against Kishwaukee, he had 26 and 13 rebounds. You know, he's the best player on the court. You know, Courtney, you know, he's probably been our most consistent player, you know, over time. He just plays hard. You know, sometimes usually guards other teams' best player, provides that energy on the top of the press. So Courtney's done a great job for us. So, you know, and then I think, you know, I texted him as well, and the more aggressive he is on offense against that rim, I think just puts more pressure on the defense as well.
One guy who would probably start a lot of other places, but he's kind of your instant offense off the bench, which I think all good teams need, that 6th, 7th man who can come in and just provide some spark for your offense and three-point shooting. Cam Irvin is, you know, when he's on, boy, he's lights out.
Yeah, Cam, you know, when he walks in the gym, he can shoot it. So I don't put a limit on where he shoots the ball. You know, usually it's about the volleyball line. So, you know, Cam's done a great job for us. You know, he's accepted a role, kind of being that 6th man. You know, I talked about being kind of Lou Williams, you know, the Clippers a little bit. So, you know, he's probably led our team in scoring 2 or 3 games, you know, averaging, you know, 20 off the bench in those 3 games. You know, in some games he scores 5 to 8, but he always provides that spark and that energy. And, you know, when he's in a good mood, it affects our whole team.
It's funny, you called him that. I called him Kobe White from the Bulls, the same hair and the three-point shooting that he brings to the floor. Very similar. We only got about a minute left here, and I just want to mention here, you know, you've had some games kind of up and down, that early season where you're trying to get guys to gel, trying to get everybody to kind of figure out their roles a little bit. You've seen some good things. You've seen some times where it's been like very frustrating. But overall, it's been a pretty good first part of this first season. I mean, this first half of the season, so to speak.
If you told me before the year, if you're 8-4, you know, I'd probably take it. You know, right now being 8-4, I'm like, I wish we were 10-2 or 11-1. So, you know, I'm never gonna be happy or satisfied, but I think we're getting better every day, and, you know, coming more of a team. So I'm excited for us. You know, our goal before Christmas will be 10-5, and, you know, we got 2 home games left of the 3, so hopefully we can win in those next 2 games. And
then you got some pretty tough games coming January, February against conference opponents. That'll be fun as well. So
definitely.
Coach, certainly wish you the best between now and then. We'll have you back on another time and talk some more Chiefs basketball. But right now we got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk women's basketball with Jim Williams. So stay with us.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Back here again on Sports Spotlight, and again, if there's a chill in the air, it's got to be basketball season. And joining me now is women's head basketball coach Jim Williams, and who's just a cool guy. He's not cold or anything. He's a cool guy. And J-Dub, thanks for coming in and talking some basketball with us. And I've got to talk to you about this year's team, and I've got to begin with the centerpiece of your team, one of your leading returners from last year, Katie Beebe, 6-foot sophomore center from Oswego, who's really just elevated her game to a whole nother level than what we've seen, and she's just gotten better and better. She's gotten her basketball legs in her. She goes from the basketball court to the softball field and back and forth all throughout the year, and she's done a phenomenal job here this first part of the season, winning the NJCAA Player of the Week award a couple of weeks ago, and just putting up monster numbers for you.
Yeah, she's come a long way. She's doing absolutely incredible. The numbers she's put up per game, 25 rebounds, tied a school record. She did that twice. 13 blocks in one game, set a school record, and then comes back the next game with 10 blocks in a game.
She's also averaging almost 18, 19 points in there as well in that stretch. I'll throw the numbers out here. For the 1 week, in 3 games, she scored 50 points, grabbed 64 rebounds, and blocked 30 shots. That was that 3rd week of November. And a week in which you went 2-1, played Rock Valley, you played Madison from Wisconsin, and Joliet Junior College was the game after that. She grabbed another 25 rebounds and had 28 points in that game. So it just was on quite a roll, and then she gets sick.
Yes.
So she's missed some time here recently. But I mean, when you've got a player like that in the middle that you can obviously just run everything around, and she's a defensive force as well, and then all of a sudden you take her out, wow, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, the girls are trying right now to learn to play without her. And, you know, with her going back and forth between softball and basketball, she really has to get her basketball legs under her. And once she does that, she's really focused on every part of basketball. And she runs the floor extremely well. Her shot's so much better than last year. And, you know, she's just a force defensively and offensively. And we take her out of there, we missed a lot right away.
Mm-hmm. She's strong. She's strong too,
Yeah.
underneath, as far as rebounding and clearing people out, and it opens things up for other people. And of course, the shot blocking is a whole nother deal. I got to mention this as well. Leads the nation in all Division II players in block shots with 56. Block shots per game at 7 per game. Rebounds with 152. Defensive rebounds with 105. Defensive rebounds per game at 13.1, and rebounds overall, she was averaging 19 rebounds a game before she went down with this illness. As a coach, you know, you try and juggle players in there, but it's tough to make up the difference of one player who has impacted your lineup that much, and then try and juggle other people in there to kind of pick up the slack.
Yeah, since she's been sick, she's been really down on herself, to be honest with you. And even during that period where she put up good numbers, she was starting to get sick as well. Mm-hmm. And there were many a times that she had nothing to eat during that day and still went out and put up the numbers that she did. She fits extremely well with our team and what we want to do, and the fact that she can run the floor and stay in the middle and help us defend, and she moves extremely well. It's just a huge loss for us right now.
Well, if you were a one-dimensional team, I'd be worried, but you're certainly not. Essence Rayford more than stepped up her game in Katie's absence, and she was doing pretty well prior to that as well, averaging about 18 points a game. But the game after that, Katie was out. She put up 40 and tied a school record, and it's just been an offensive weapon that a lot of teams have had a hard time stopping. Yeah,
well, she's the fastest player I've ever coached before. She sometimes struggles with her shot, but we're constantly working at it, constantly working at getting her to see the open person on the floor as well. We're trying to get her assist total up because she can create so many things for so many different people. And the first game with Katie out, she tried to do so much. And actually in the beginning she struggled a little bit, but once she realizes that she has people around her that can shoot the ball, and obviously when Katie was there, she can give a lot of things to Katie.
At only 5'5", like you said, the fastest player you've had, and she's just a dynamo up and down the floor. She's running away from people on the dribble, and they're trying to run full speed a lot of times. But it's been fun to watch her so far. And another player in there, I got to mention, Evelyn Martin, has really stepped in and done a really nice job for you.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me at all with Evie. She's worked with pretty hard over the summer with us, actually a couple summers with us, and she's never had that kind of freedom at Newark, is where she was from, and she's really stepped up, and she plays extremely hard. And to be honest with you, it'd be interesting to see her in Essence in a foot race, because I think Evelyn's just almost as fast as Essence.
That's saying something right there too, because Essence can go up and down the floor pretty quick. And one more here I got to mention before we take a break: Malia Perry is like that fourth person there with your scoring option. She's a really good shooter. She's kind of a streaky shooter though too. And your typical freshman who kind of up and down so far. She's looked good at times, and other times she's struggled.
Yeah, she's hard on herself. When she's on though, she can knock them down from anywhere. And we're going through one of her down periods right now, so hopefully, you know, especially tonight, hopefully she's ready to go.
Well, this isn't a down point, but it is a point we have to take a break. So we're going to take a break here on Sports Spotlight and come right back with Coach Jim Williams, so stay with us. Again, back here on Sports Spotlight, a quick reminder, you can get more information again about Chiefs athletics by going online to gochiefs.com or njcaa.org or Region 4, that's the number 4, sports.com. And Jim Williams is here with me now talking about the women's basketball team. We've talked about some of the players, and we'll talk about some more here as well with your roster. A couple other young ladies we didn't talk about. Katie Shockey, who's also a softball player, who's come in and filled a pretty good role for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's our number one hustler on the team. She busts her butt all the time, and really surprised us on how well she can shoot the ball. There's been a couple games, in fact, at Kishwaukee and Joliet now, where she's knocked down some big three-pointers for us and brought us back in the game.
We talked about Katie Beebe a lot in the first segment, your 6-foot center, but you also have a couple other players with a little bit of height who have helped step in a little bit here while she's been out. One being Tatiana Smith, a sophomore who played some minutes last year, got some experience. And then you've got a trio of volleyball players that came in Jocelyn Jefferson, Ryan Thompson, and Alyssa Gittens, who's also a 6-foot center, who's starting to get her basketball legs back under her. Yeah,
Alyssa's a girl we tried recruiting. Same with Ryan, both from Newark as well. And they decided to kind of focus on volleyball. I think with a little convincing of Evelyn, she's brought them over, and they both are have a lot of basketball smarts, and they can really help us out down the stretch here.
I would be totally remiss if I didn't mention two other players here. I almost forgot Allison Ryan and Marissa Van Wy as well, those two. And Allison obviously played some significant minutes here for you in the first part of the season.
Yeah, she has. And, you know, she's one of those that's a little bit timid, comes from a little 7 conference. You know, really didn't have anyone push her around at all. So she's learning to adjust to that, learning how to be more physical, learning how to be more aggressive. And still, when she can knock down that shot, can really help us out as well.
Yeah, the college game, even at the junior college level, is a lot faster and a lot more physical than what kids are expecting, or at least they play in high school, especially at the small schools like where some of your girls from Newark and Hinckley Big Rock are trying to adjust to that. You've had some pretty good games here early in the year, and we've talked about, you know, off the air, we've talked about some of the ups and downs you've had, and it's kind of typical early in the season. You always play a pretty tough non-conference schedule, and this year is no exception. You've played some tough teams. You've been banged up a little bit here and there, or you've been missing some bodies. It's tough to do things when you don't have the number of bodies in practice even to do some things you want to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely, especially with some of the teams that have pressed us recently. We've tried to bring some of the boys from the boys team over to simulate presses that we think we're going to see. But obviously, you know, once you get in the game, you get the nerves going, and sometimes we panic a little bit, and that's what you've seen in some of our games where we've had a lot of turnovers.
Well, you've had some games where you also struggled shooting the ball. Offensively, you've gotten a couple really slow starts, but then the next thing you know, by the end of the game, you guys are right in there. I think that's one of the strengths of this team that I've seen so far. It's just the toughness, and there's a never say die kind of attitude with this group.
Yeah, they fight. They work extremely hard. They have a certain kind of mental toughness of not wanting to lose, and I would say that comes mostly from Essence, to be honest with you. She brings a lot of that, especially in being a transfer from Bryan Stratton, where she came from.
And so far, you've seen some of the teams in our area. You've got some other tough ones coming up. You've got Kankakee late in the year, but you've already seen South Suburban. You know, we know Moraine Valley, a couple other ones in the conference are going to be pretty tough. Who so far stood out, though, to you that you've played?
Well, Rock Valley really put a beating to us.
But they're Division III, so we don't worry about them too much.
Right. I would say teams that are coming up, McHenry, Blackhawk Moline was an interesting team. They've had a lot of tough wins recently against some good teams. But McHenry, Moraine Valley, Morton, all those will be really tough games for us.
Now, as we get done with the holiday, or through this first part of the season, you got the holiday break. What kind of plans do you have? What do you guys normally do with the team when you have that long stretch where you don't have any games, usually for a couple of weeks or more?
Well, I give them a week to kind of breathe, a week for me to breathe as well. But we give a week off, then we're back at it. We'll do everything from conditioning to weight room, and to really just getting up and down and playing again after the week off.
And then you come back, and the next thing you know, it's going to be January. It's going to be conference play already. You know, you mentioned McHenry. Who else in the conference are you looking at going, okay, we've got to measure up with them if we got a shot at the conference title?
Yeah, it's your typicals: McHenry, Moraine Valley, Morton, and I might be missing someone, but I think those are the three that are going to be up there this year.
Well, hopefully you can get the job done, and of course we're going to come back and talk to you sometime in January, see how things are going with the Lady Chiefs. But thanks, Coach, for coming in. And we're out of time here on Sports Spotlight. On behalf of Jimmy Tossed Chicken McGarrah, Chris Foster, Jamie Lara, I'm Steve Moga. Thanks for watching, everybody. So long.